Ready for your workday and anytime. U92.5.
The new U92 is pleased once again to bring you another episode of Hawk Talk, featuring the voice of the IUP Crimson Hawks, Jack Benedict, along with IUP head coach Paul Tortorella, and special guests each week. This week's edition of Hawk Talk is brought to you by the C.H. Fields Craft Kitchen at the Hilton Garden Inn, Dowds of Plumville and Greensburg, the Walker Motor Company, and the Meredith Inn. Now let's go live to the C.H. Fields Craft Kitchen at the Hilton Garden Inn for this week's edition of Hawk Talk. Here's Jack Benedict.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome aboard to Hawk Talk. We are with Coach Paul Tortorella. We're going to talk IUP football for the next hour. Quincy Noble's going to join us here, the star receiver. He'll be with us at about the 6:30 mark. We're live from the Hilton Garden Inn. Glad to have you along as we talk about a victory on Saturday for IUP, 49-14 over Shippensburg. And so, Coach, we get an opportunity to talk about a game that you guys were ready to play. It took a little while, but then after you got started, you were rolling pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were a little bit stagnant offensively in the first half, but then we started to hit some big plays in the second half, and defense created a lot of opportunity for our offense with some turnovers, and we took advantage of them, you know, offensively, and played pretty good in the second half, but we got to be better in the first half.
First half, it was 14-7. You went to the locker room. Was it a Newt Rockney halftime speech? Because, boy, in the second half, things really changed.
Well, I think we just got a lot of momentum there at the end of the half with the defensive touchdown. I mean, that's a huge momentum swing. You know, minute and a half to go, score's tied at 7. We get a turnover and score on defense to go up 14-7. For as good as it is for us, it's that much worse for Shippensburg. So that was huge. That was a huge momentum swing. And it, you know, obviously at halftime we talked about trying to take the game over in the second half now that we got the lead. And it picked up then after that.
Yeah, you might specify a little bit that play. Cole Waitman forced the fumble.
Right.
And then Jay Holmes scooped it up, and he goes in 21 yards. And you could just feel it, and I'm sure the bench was like that too.
Yeah, and as much as it got us going, it kind of deflated Shippensburg. You could see it just to start the second half. We got a quick 2 plays on defense, and then we got them to turn it over, backed up inside their 10. 1 play scored. And then, you know, I looked up at the clock. There was 8 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the third quarter. And in the last 7 minutes, we about scored them 28-0 because I told the defensive coaches, you know, realize there's still 8.5 minutes to go in the third quarter here. And that game went from 7-7 to 35-7 just like that. And that's what happens sometimes when you create a turnover. Waitman, tremendous effort play. I mean, ran it down halfway across the field and stripped the quarterback, and then Jay did a great job staying in bounds and picking up the fumble and scoring. So we had another opportunity. We got 2 more turnovers there and had a one-yard drive and a 9-yard drive in 1 play on each play because, you know, offense got the ball inside the 10 twice. And then we hit a couple big plays on offense in the second half to kind of put the game away. Mm-hmm. So, but I think the defense really got it, you know, got things going there at the end of the half.
I think you answered part of one of the fans said about the comment on the progress of Cole Waitman. Says you talked about the sack, the turnover. He's one of those young guys that's been in the program a short time, but he's really come on, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Very early in his career.
Yeah, he played as a true freshman and has made great strides since last season. Had a good spring. He's kind of throwback like Biss, kind of reminds me a lot of guys we've had here in the past. Rob Plowman.
Oh yeah.
You know, every once in a while I actually call him by Plowman's name because I'm losing my mind a little the older I get. But he reminds me of Rob Plowman. Like they even look like each other, and they play exactly the same way, like nonstop, all gas, no brakes. Sometimes it gets Cole in trouble, and he gets out of position a little bit, but a lot of times his effort and his intensity brings a lot to the table.
Comment a little bit about Jay Holmes, too. I had a guy who's been pretty close to the IUP football program of theirs. He said, he's an unheralded guy on that defense, and he kind of makes things go.
Right.
And you don't know he's there but he makes things happen.
Well, he's very athletic. He plays linebacker. We put him on the edge on nickel for pass rush. He makes a great pass breakup down in the red zone. Great break on the ball. He gets the pass breakup. We had our hands on 7 balls Saturday, and not interceptions, but just pass breakups, and we just missed getting the deflections. We very easily could have 2 or 3 interceptions, but he had a great break on the ball reading the quarterback and down there in the red zone, and then they proceeded on the next play to miss the field goal in the first half when the score was 7-7. So that was another big play early in the game. But he's good against the run. He's very good. He's a good blitzer. He's really good in pass coverage. He plays fast. He's very fast player, sometimes too fast, but you'd rather have that than guys that aren't fast enough. So, yeah, he's been great.
Is there any particular reason why the team has had a slow start in the first half in the first couple of games?
Well, I think, against Ashland, we played pretty good in the first half. We threw an interception this week on the first series, which didn't help, and they hit a pass play on a broken coverage, and they schemed it up pretty good. They had a nice scheme for the coverage we were in. So just like that, an interception and a broken coverage, and you're down 7-0. I mean, we had a lot of opportunities the first half. We had the ball 7 times in the first half, and we went for it down on the 20 on 4th down and got stopped. We had a 1st and 10 on the plus 40 after a short punt. We didn't get anything out of that. So we had opportunities in the first half to put points on the board, but we didn't finish drives, which has been kind of our Achilles heel on offense so far this year. So we did a better job in the second half, but it was a lot easier when we had the lead. It's a lot easier to play offense when you got a 3-touchdown lead, so forth. But we got to play better early in the game offensively to get, things going.
There were a couple of touchdowns early during that span with Karst hitting Quinn Zanoble.
Right.
Quinn will be with us here in just a little bit, about 6:30 or so. One was from 9 and then the other from 31 yards out. We have the video of that, too, that John's going to show to our fans.
Right.
And this is, we've had great combinations of passing combo down through the years, and these guys seem to they haven't been together that long, but they seem to be on the same page.
Well, they are. It takes some time. None of all these guys we're talking about, Zanoble, Karst Hunter, our new offensive linemen, they weren't here in the spring. So it's taken some time. We're a different team offensively from the second quarter on than we are in the first quarter, because we got these guys that, haven't played a whole lot for us, and it's kind of taking them time in the game to get up to the speed of the game. And so, we had Ridley with 2 touchdowns, obviously Zanoble with 2 touchdowns. Lockhart had a big catch early in the game that led to our first touchdown. We got 3 pretty dynamic receivers. We got to get the ball in their hands 15 to 20 times a game as a group. And I think if we do that, now we tried to hit Diggy 3 or 4 times on some go balls, and we just missed a couple times. One time the DB made a pretty good play, and the other time he should have caught it. It was a drop. So we just missed 1 or 2 times. We hit the first one early with Lockhart. We hit Zanoble on a deep ball for a touchdown. We hit Ridley on a deep over route on play action for a touchdown. So we had our share of big passes, but, if you look at our roster on offense, we've got 3 pretty big dynamic receivers. They got to get open, but we got to get the ball in their hands. And obviously at running back, number 1 starting to come into his own a little bit, DeJour Stewart. A little rusty, but I think he's back close to 100%. He's another guy we got to get the ball in his hands 15 to 20 times a game. And, I'm a defensive guy, but I kind of subscribe to the fact to get the ball in your best player's hands. It's more than just plays, it's players. You know, and we got to utilize, especially those three receivers and DeJour at running back. And, you know, with Laney down at tight end, that's another threat that we didn't have on Saturday that helps us.
Yeah.
So we missed him on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. The 31-yard pass play was a beauty. Karsten Quinn hooking up on that when we have it for you on video. And fans who are watching and those who are listening only, it was a heck of a play.
Yeah.
And again, you know, seeing these two guys, I know I saw them in the summer.
Working out, sure.
Working out. And so those guys were kind of getting together
Sure.
and learning each other and what they do.
Right.
You know, they're coming from all over the place.
Yeah, and you know, even Lockhart. I mean, Lockhart played one half of football for us last year. So realistically, of those three receivers, two of them haven't played for us.
At all. Yeah.
You know, obviously Ridley had a great year last year, so we feel like, hey, we got three really talented receivers. We got a quarterback that's really starting to get better. Like the difference in Karst Hunter in the second half of games and first half of games is night and day. You know, he's just got to get used to the flow of the game and the speed of the game. This is only his third game with us. He didn't have spring football. He was busy visiting schools all over the place, so he didn't have he didn't have any spring football. So, you know, that shows here early, but, you know, we're seeing signs, especially in second half of games, where he and the receivers and the whole offense, you know, you can just see it by the look in their eyes on the sideline. They're totally a different offense in the second half once they get a chance to make adjustments, see what the defense is doing. I think our coaches have done a really good job at halftime on offense, making adjustments, and our offense coming out in the second half and playing a lot better than they have been in the first half.
Did Shippensburg do anything that you weren't expecting?
No, they played a very basic defense against us. They didn't blitz. You know, they didn't take any chance. I mean, they played a pretty vanilla defense, to be honest with you, and surprised us a little bit early. But then once we seen, you know, kind of what they were doing, we made our adjustments, you know, going in at halftime, coming out in the second half, and we really had everything we wanted in the second half. I mean, we scored obviously a lot of points, but we had great field position too. But sure. we hit 3 or 4 big passes. We hit a big run. So we made some really good adjustments offensively at halftime.
Yeah. All right, we're with Coach Paul Tortorella. We're on Hawk Talk. Going to be back here in just a moment, coming to you live from the Hilton Garden Inn. Stay with us. We're going to talk more coming up this week. Of course, it's on the road, and that's going to be at Mercyhurst up at Erie. That's a 1 o'clock kickoff, and we have a little bit of information on Mercyhurst coming up, too. Stay with us. It's Hawk Talk coming your way on U92Radio.com.
No pressure, no hassle. Only one of the reasons to buy your new or pre-owned vehicle from Walker GMC in downtown Katanning. Make the short drive across 422 and see why Walker Motor Company was voted #1 new and used dealership in Armstrong County for 6 straight years.
Dunkin' Donuts on Oakland Avenue in Indiana wants to show you its new look. Dunkin' is now open and invites you to see the newly remodeled location for yourself. The new Dunkin' has a store of the future look with several new features, such as coffee on tap, mobile order pickup space, and even smart device recharging pads and technology available inside. See for yourself the new look. The newly remodeled Dunkin' Donuts, now open on Oakland Avenue. Indiana runs on Dunkin'.
Located along the beautiful Allegheny River in downtown Katanning, the Meredith Inn provides an atmosphere of casual upscale dining. Dine indoors or outside on the new patio. Check them out on Facebook or visit their website at themeredithinn.com. Well worth the drive.
Welcome back, everybody. Coming to you live from the Hilton Garden Inn. Jack Benedict with Coach Paul Tortorella. We have Quinns and Noble coming up with us just a little bit later on. UP with a 49-14 win over Ship. Mercyhurst is up next. Fan wants to know, Coach, we seem to have blitzed more this game than in previous games. Was that by design? We're going to see more of that?
I mean, well, it depends. You know, everything we do is dependent on who we're playing, the protections. different formations. To make a blanket statement that we're going to blitz more is probably not true. Depending on what type of protections we're getting and formations that we're seeing and who we're playing, really depends on how much we blitz.
Mm-hmm. With your defense, in the first couple of games, it didn't force much the opposition into mistakes. That was totally different.
Right.
They made mistakes on their own, but also because of the way you guys played defense.
Right. We had, I think, 8 hurries on the quarterback. We had 2 sacks. The play before the one fumble, we hit the quarterback. We got called for roughing the passer. It was close. Mm-hmm. He got hit high. It wasn't late. It was just we hit him high, and that knocked him out of the game, unfortunately. And the very next play, the new quarterback came in, and I kind of think he was watching the rush, and on the snap, he just took his eyes off the snap, and the ball went through his hands. So if you can affect the quarterback, like everyone wants to talk about sacks, and that's great. But hits and hurries on the quarterback take their toll. And I think that's what happened with Johnson, their first quarterback. He took a lot of hits. Even on the passes that he completed, he was getting hit. Mm-hmm. So if you can hit the quarterback, hurry the quarterback, make things uncomfortable for him. Sometimes it's not how many sacks you get, although we had 2 and probably should have had 2 more if our ends would have stayed outside and up the field. They would have got 2 free sacks where the quarterback would have got flushed right to him. So it was a good day in regards to we were covering them pretty good, and we were getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, whether we were blitzing or we weren't blitzing. Now, when we blitzed, we did get home a lot.
Well, on the offensive side, another question from a fan. Hunter throws a flatter pass on long throws. Is there anything in order to get him to move a little bit, get more loft on the ball?
Yeah, he's got to put a little more air under the ball. Mac was an unbelievable deep ball thrower, so it's a hard comparison there. I think if we had Karsten this spring, it would be a little bit different, but he's getting better at it. We're taking our shots. He's hit a bunch of them. I would expect us to hit more of them as we move on into the season here. He's just got to put a little bit of air underneath it. His ball placement has to be away from the defender a little more. And, I think he's the one thing is he sees it because he's so tall that he has no problem seeing receivers that are open or, going through his progression. Because, when you have a small quarterback, you hardly ever see him throw the ball down the middle of the field. And we don't have an issue with him. He's hit a bunch of deep overroutes, a post against Ashland. He's thrown the ball down the middle of the field because he can see it because he's so big. He made 2 mistakes Saturday. One was the interception, and the other one was an angle route by our running back. We were going to get a first down on 3rd and 10, and he kind of threw it behind him. Mm-hmm. And then a couple of the passes, 2 of the plays, the defensive back made pretty good play in recovery mode. Diggy dropped the one. He caught the other one. Quinn caught the long one for a touchdown. And so, if you take your shots, you're not going to hit every one of them. But if you can hit close to 50% of them, that's you're going to have some big plays.
I thought their D-backs on certain occasions played pretty good.
Yeah, they put their corners in press coverage the whole game. So, you got to take shots. Mm-hmm. You can't just let them do that. And we did. We took 8. I think we counted 8 times we went after them in press. One was a pass interference that they didn't call. 2 of them we hit, 1 for a touchdown, and we had a drop. So out of 8, if we get the pass interference call, which it was, and they didn't call, we'd have been 5 for 8 in regards to positive plays. Mm-hmm. And I got you got to give the corner credit on 2 of them. At the last minute, he gets his hand in there and knocks it out at the very last minute. So he recovered and made a pretty good play, but they were all fairly catchable. It doesn't do you any good like the week before. We had 2 switch routes, guy running wide open, and Karst overthrew him. Well, you have no chance to catch an overthrow.
Right.
at least if you give the receiver a chance to make the catch. Our big guys, it's simple. We're 6'3" at wideout. These corners are 5'10". And I'm of the ilk that big man beats little man every time. So I'm going to take my chances on a 6'3". Like we don't play press against 6'3" receivers. We don't do it because we don't believe that
the odds aren't there.
The odds aren't there. And we got a corner that's pretty big in Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's 6'1", but 5'10" corners struggle on 6'3" wideouts in press coverage. Now they can cover everything else, but when you play press coverage and you're 5'10" and that receiver's 6'3", major advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Unsung heroes. Let's bring up some guys here I always like to mention. How about Aiden Spittler, your punter?
Yeah. Oh.
7 punts, averaged almost 46, including, I know he got some rolls, but 74 yards on one.
That turned the field, and that came back at the end of the half to really help us. We turned the field completely on that punt, and then we got the forced fumble, right after that, and picked it up and ran for a touchdown because they were on their 20-yard line because of that punt. I mean, that was a 73-yard punt. It was only 53 net, but it was 73-yard punt.
Yeah.
They got the ball on the 20. We got the quarterback sacked and got the ball out and scored a touchdown. That was a huge play in the game. First 3 kicking game plays weren't very good. Opening kickoff, we ran back to the 16-yard line. So here we're starting the game, 1st and 10 on our own 16-yard line. We get stopped and we punt. We lose contain on the punt return. They get a 15-yard punt return. That's the second kicking game play. Third kicking game play, we score a touchdown to tie it up 7-7. We miss 3 tackles on kickoff coverage. They get the ball to their 40-yard line. And then, so that's a terrible start kicking game-wise.
Right.
But then from that point on, we dominated the kicking game. We almost ran back a kickoff for a touchdown. We had 2 good punt returns. Our kickoff coverage, Toller did a tremendous job. He was our special teams player of the week. He made 3 tackles, Isaiah Toller, on our kickoff coverage team. We had him pinned down inside the 20 all 3 times. And Tracy did a good job kicking off, putting the ball deep in where we wanted it. So after the first 3 strikeouts in the kicking game, the game turned because we played much better in the kicking game. It's just not a coincidence that early in the game we were struggling a little bit and we had 3 bad special teams plays. And then from that point on, we kind of controlled the game and we were really good in special teams.
I'm glad you brought up Isaiah because I had him at 5 tackles overall on coverage and all.
He also had a tackle for a loss on defense at safety.
Yeah. He had a tremendous game, and I'm glad that you guys recognize the other guy, and both a combination of what I had here and what one of our listeners had about Cy Clark, who you and I had talked about him many times, how he performed in spring ball. So you got him running back a kick, almost took it the whole way. Haven't had one in 5 years.
Yeah.
78 yards was the official. Only got it tripped up. Are you going to continue to utilize him?
Yeah,
you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And we got him in on a jet sweep. He had a 20-yard run on it. I guess it's completion because we flipped it. Obviously, when you flip it, it's a pass. When you hand it, it's a run. So quarterback likes flipping it because he gets a completion. The receiver likes catching it because he gets a catch.
I don't know.
But any type of jet sweep that we run, we got it in his hands Saturday, and he had a great run. I think it was a 21-yard game. Every time he's gotten the opportunity, he's done a good job.
Let me bring up Nico Marchitelli, your backup quarterback. He comes in later on, got a chance to get him in there, give Karst a rest, protect him. You've got a big lead and so on. It was too bad the run for the touchdown wasn't good.
Right.
That was a holding penalty,
wasn't it? It was a hold on that.
Yeah.
And then we hit the switch rod. He threw it outside, and he threw it exactly where you got to throw it. And Campbell made a great adjustment on the ball. There was no way the defensive back was going to come anywhere near it the way the ball was thrown over the outside. And it could have been a clinic reel on how to throw a switch rod because he threw it high, deep, and over the top to the outside where the defender has no chance at all to get it. So at the end of the day, we're either going to catch it or they're going to get called for pass interference, or it's going to be an incomplete pass. And Campbell made a good adjustment on the ball.
You had a big lead, but you like to experiment with the guys who have reps all the time, and you never know in a game. It's just like in a baseball game. If you have a big lead, you tell a guy not to steal a base,
or don't swing it. Don't get a hit, or
don't
the other team keeps playing. I mean, they kept throwing passes and running. I mean, they kept running their offense. The thing you got to remember is Marchitelli's our backup quarterback. What good does it do when we put him into the game at the end of the game and just have him hand the ball off? Like he needs to get work, so if he has to go in there and play,
sure,
he's ready to go. So I'm not into that. Put it in the freezer and the game's over. I mean, Campbell, Clark, these wideouts, we call on them if they got to go in the game and play. It doesn't do us a whole lot of good. Put them in the game and just tell them to go block people and never throw the ball to them. Yeah. Same thing with our offensive linemen. And like they could go out there and we run the ball every play for the fourth quarter. They never get the pass protect. So then what if they got to get in the game and protect? Practice is not anywhere near the same thing as the game. And people that don't know football don't realize that.
Yeah, that's it's totally different, that's for sure. All right, stay with us. We're going to be back with more. We're on Hawk Talk. We come to you live each Monday, and we're here at the Hilton Garden Inn with Coach Paul Tortorella, getting ready for a road trip up to Erie and Mercyhurst on Saturday. Back in a moment. We'll take this time out on U92Radio.com.
Looking for... Surround yourself with good friends at the Hilton Garden Inn and C.H. Field's Craft Kitchen, offering breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, private dining, and catered events. Whether you're an out-of-town guest staying at the Hilton Garden Inn, visiting IUP, or part of the local community, they invite you to join them. On Wednesdays, it's Hump Day Happies from 4 to 6 p.m., featuring $2 off craft cocktails, draft beer, house wines by the glass, and half off select small plates. Find out more online or Facebook and make your choice after the big game. The Hilton Garden Inn and C.H. Field's Craft Kitchen.
Don't miss the biggest floor sample sale Dowd's Furniture has had in years. We're cleaning out all the shelves and filling both stores with over $4 million of inventory available for immediate delivery. Sofas, recliners, sectionals, bedroom and dining room furniture, plus lamps, pictures, and accessories, all available now. Hurry in and don't miss out at Dowd's of Plumville and Greensburg.
Doesn't your home deserve Dowd's?
And we're back with you on Hawk Talk. Jack Benedict with Coach Paul Tortorella. We welcome Quinn Zanoble with us here at the studio right here by the kitchen. We always know where to line up. Quinn, good to have you along.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You bet. You and I have talked before, so I may be repetitive on some questions I've asked before, but the fans getting to watch you and so on. Let me give a little background. There are a lot of people in this region who are familiar with you because you played at Juniata Valley. You played against some Indiana County teams.
Yeah, that's correct. We played United, I think, a couple times.
How about Homer Center?
Yes, we played them as well.
Yeah, as well. 4-year letterman, football, basketball, baseball. You won District 6 championships in all 3 sports. Was there any of those championships that were more satisfying than another one?
Yeah, actually it was my senior year football. We beat Bishop Guilfoyle 9-3. And then we played United for the district championship, so that was pretty cool for me.
Yeah.
We haven't beat Bishop Guilfoyle in ever, so beating them was probably
not many teams do they?
No, they got a pretty good run.
Yeah, they have. Quinn, why did you choose football? Because obviously you excelled in those other sports too.
Honestly, it was just the satisfaction I got from the game. Baseball is a slower sport, and basketball I just played to stay in shape for the other 2 sports. So, I was fortunate enough to get opportunities to play football, and I decided to do that. Yeah,
and you came out of Juniata Valley. You got a chance at Clarion, where you had 80 catches, 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns. Was that a natural for you there at Clarion?
Honestly, no. It was a pretty big transition for me. As Coach Tort knows, I played quarterback in high school, so I never played receiver until I got to college. So that was a big transition for me.
Wow, so that's interesting. You discovered that right away, and you figured this guy's a great athlete. We can put him about anywhere.
When we were looking at him out of high school, that's the route we were going to go. And then we ended up playing against him against Clarion, and he did a little bit of damage against us a couple games.
Oh yeah.
He was, we weren't really worrying about anybody else but him, to be honest with you. But and then they used him as a wildcat quarterback, and so
I do remember that.
Yeah. They did a good job using him, as much as they could.
Yeah.
But he didn't have a whole lot else to work with, and that kind of probably wore him down a little bit.
So then you moved on to University of Albany. Tell us about your experience there.
It was pretty cool being able to compete with some of the best defensive backs in the country. We got to play against Baylor. And I had a couple of good catches against them, and that was big for me as far as playing against Division II guys. Going to Division I feel like there was a big step up there, so I knew I had to work on my game, work on my craft, and I excelled there. So
yeah, you had 18 receptions, 292 yards, a touchdown there. Well, where did you better your game when you went to Albany? What particular area did you better your game?
Man coverage, because at Clarion I actually played in the slot a lot. So whenever I got to Albany, they wanted me to play outside. So I had to learn to play into the boundary and play against the best corner. So that's what I really had to work on, was press coverage.
You and I talked about this before, and that's the fact of why you eventually came to IUP. Tell us all about that.
So Coach Tort, he's talked to me quite a few times, out of the portal at Clarion, out of high school, and then once again in the spring. But I felt like I had to give him some love whenever I entered the portal this time.
Thank you.
We were 0 for 2. If the third strike, we'd have been a strikeout if he would have said no the third time.
Well, and you also mentioned, too, about your academics.
Yes. So Albany didn't have my master's degree that I wanted, and, if they would have, I possibly would have stayed there. But, I was fortunate enough that IUP had what I wanted to do, and that's Health Services Administration. So Coach Tort was, nice enough to offer me a scholarship to play here for my last year, and, I thank him.
Yeah, and it's working out really well. Right now, if you take a look at the PSAC stats, Quinn's in with 18 receptions, 309 yards. You got the 4 touchdowns, averaging 17 a catch, 2 touchdowns. You described those 2 touchdowns that you had on Saturday.
Yeah, I felt like Carson, the second half read the defense really well. The first half we struggled as far as throwing the deep ball. And, that's just a connection that we need to get better at practice and everything. But I felt like in the second half he picked it up and gave us a chance to make catches. And that's the biggest thing, is if he throws it up there, a 6'3" receiver is going to beat a 5'10" DB, 9 out of 10 times. So that's what we really focus on.
You almost broke the one.
Yeah.
Close.
Yep. I wasn't expecting to get hit. And, I landed on my knee, and, I got to, get that healthy this week.
Yeah. Do you feel better? I mean, is it getting?
Yes. Yeah. I feel good this week.
Yeah.
Right now.
I was going to mention, Tort and I had talked about this summer where you guys got together, Karst, Cole, DeJure.
Yeah.
How did that all help as far as blending and everybody getting to know one another?
Especially at Division II, we aren't required to be up here. But, for my last year, and I wanted to make a difference and, make a championship run, which I've never made before. So I knew what it was going to have to take, and we built chemistry over the summer. A lot of guys were up here. Derek Lockhart, for example, Cole Laney. So, we really focused on building that chemistry so that in fall camp we were prepared and everything.
Yeah. When Tort, you and I have talked about your group of receivers,
right,
in the top 3, and we haven't even mentioned about Cole as your tight end. He can flex in there. You have some guys that back up that are pretty decent players too.
Yeah, I mean, Debner's made a lot of good. You know, he's got some pedigree. I mean, he helped us beat Shepherd in the PSAC championship game last year. He's another guy that when he's been called on has come through. Cy Clark has gotten his chance with Hauser being hurt. Cy moved up on the depth chart. We got Omar Stewart, who's a young freshman that's, you know, feeling his way right now. But when you look at skill set, talent, ball skills, can run, body type, he has what we're looking for. He just needs some time. So we feel like we've got some depth there. You know, when we go to 4 wides, we put the 4th wide out on the field, especially since Cole's been hurt, got hurt.
Yeah.
We just flex him out to give us a 4 wide look. But with him going down last week, we got into our 4 wides with 4 wide receivers this past week. And, you know, when you line up 6'3", 6'3", 6'2" across the board, and then when Laney's in there at 6'5", you got 4 pretty impressive size type receivers that, you know, when you're a quarterback, it's a lot easier throwing to bigger guys than it is little guys, okay? Just the radius, the arm length. You just got to get the ball near these receivers. You know, I was mad on the 4th down play. I think we tried to throw it to Ridley on 4th and 2, and Carson overthrew him by a lot. And I said to Larry, what in the world is he thinking? It's 4th down. Just get it close to Ridley, and he's going to catch it. This ain't 2nd or 3rd down. We don't get another chance. Well, the problem wasn't Carr's throw. He got hit by 2 guys when he went to throw the ball. The edge guy hit him, and a guy up the middle bull rushed our inside offensive lineman into his lap. So it on paper, I'm on the sideline. I look and I see the ball flying way over Ridley's hand. He wasn't wide open, but he was open enough for us to make the catch and make the 1st down. And it's a different throwing that route on 4th and 3 is a lot different. 3rd and 3, well, you'll probably go for it on 4th down.
Yeah.
You know, but on 4th and 3, you got to get it close. Like if he gets it close to Ridley there, he's going to catch it. Well, it was way over his head. I didn't see the pressure. Next morning, I watched the film, and, man, it hits me right in the face. I mean, this guy's getting hit twice. So, I mean, he didn't even have a chance to extend his throw. Mm-hmm. And I think the ball got tipped, too, by the guy rushing off the edge. He put his hand up, and I think that hurt the trajectory of the throw. So, like, it's hard during a game. You got to kind of watch what you say and what you think. And even after a game, you got to kind of watch what you think and what you say until you watch the video. And I know people like make fun of coaches and say, I got to look at the tape. It is kind of true. Because if I would have went off of what I thought happened, I was totally wrong. Like the throw had the guy, we lucky we got the throw off.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same, like for us in the booth.
Well, same thing, unless you got a thing right there that you can look at.
Trying to watch the ball, and I'm see who's hitting the quarterback. Let me ask you this, Quinn. Being at 6'3", is it easier to spot the quarterback who is 6'4" rather than 5'11"?
I'm sure it is.
On the other end, it works both ways, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, we throw a lot of slant routes.
That's true.
If you're 5'10" at quarterback, like when we had Lenny, we didn't throw many slant routes. He was 5'11". Okay, but when you got a 6'4" quarterback and 6'3" receiver, guys that are 6'3", you throw a lot of slant routes now. I mean, it's hard to cover big guys on slants. You can't get inside them. You can't get around them. They use their body to shield off the defender. Plus, the quarterback, even Karst, who does kind of have a low release, but he's 6'4". He shouldn't get a lot of balls. Like he had one batted down Saturday. Well, the guy was this far away from him. He almost sacked him, and the guy put his hands up. So it wasn't like it was just he threw it low. I mean, it was in his face, face again with pressure. But believe me, the size of the quarterback and the size of the receivers makes a huge difference in regards to how you go about running your offense.
We're going to talk about Mercyhurst because they have the tall and the short of it there with their quarterback and their top receiver. I got to bring it up about your dad, Mike. Yeah, tell us about him. Most fans know, some who don't know, that he played at IUP. He played on couple of really good teams. One went to the national championship. Coach Signetti always thought that the 91 team was as good as those teams that went to a national championship. How did this all evolve as you were making these moves?
Yeah, so actually whenever I entered the portal the first time, my dad was, I could kind of tell he was leaning more towards you got to go to IUP, you got to go to IUP. And this time, I felt like it was the right fit for me. They gave me a good opportunity. But I knew coming here that, Coach Camp was going to be tough because my dad said that he played with him. So he said be prepared for him. And, obviously I knew from being at Clarion how good Coach Tort really was. So I trusted my dad, and he said come here. So
Did he ever talk about some of his experiences on the field with or some of the players that, he played with some great players.
Yeah, he did. He tells me some things, but mostly he was talking about Coach Camp and, how good of friends he was with him.
Yeah, well, that's, again, that bonding, that this tradition that comes down through Coach Camp and Coach Wilson, very close over the years.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we got to get you healthy. You going to be ready to go Saturday?
Yes, I will.
I know it's early in the week, and players always, you and Hilton are the old men of the wideout. Do these younger players come to you? And Derek, hasn't had a chance to be here. Do they come to you with some advice, or advice from you?
Yeah, I feel like they come to us a lot for advice and for anything. I'm 23 years old. Hilton's 22, and Diggy's 23. So we got a pretty old receiving core, and that helps, everybody, because we played in the game. We know, the mental aspects that it takes, and that's big.
Yeah, especially like you've been on different levels too.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of difference between D1 and strong D2?
No, there's not much of a difference, I'd say.
Well, listen, thank you for coming. Thanks for inviting, Quinn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know the fans really enjoy watching you play, and we've got many more receptions to come out of you, I'm sure, in the next few games.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Quinn Zanoble, glad to have him here. Coach, thanks for bringing him over.
Absolutely.
Yep, thank
he
you.
earned it.
Good luck. Yeah, you bet. We'll be back with more. You never know what's coming. We're going to talk about the next opponent, Mercyhurst. Hawk Talk coming to you live from the Hilton right after this timeout.
Don't miss the biggest floor sample sale Dowd's Furniture has had in years. We're cleaning out all the shelves and filling both stores with over $4 million of inventory available for immediate delivery. Sofas, recliners, sectionals, bedroom and dining room furniture, plus lamps, pictures, and accessories, all available now. Hurry in and don't miss out at Dowd's of Plumville and Greensburg.
Doesn't your home deserve Dowd's?
Dunkin' Donuts on Oakland Avenue in Indiana wants to show you its new look. Dunkin' is now open and invites you to see the newly remodeled location for yourself. The new Dunkin' has a store of the future look with several new features, such as coffee on tap, mobile order pickup space, and even smart device recharging pads and technology available inside. See for yourself the new look. The newly remodeled Dunkin' Donuts, now open on Oakland Avenue. Indiana runs on Dunkin'.
Surround yourself with good friends at the Hilton Garden Inn and CH Fields Craft Kitchen, offering breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, private dining, and catered events. Whether you're an out-of-town guest staying at the Hilton Garden Inn, visiting IUP, or part of the local community, they invite you to join them. On Wednesdays, it's Hump Day Happies from 4 to 6 p.m., featuring $2 off craft cocktails, draft beer, house wines by the glass, and half off select small plates. Find out more online or Facebook and make your choice after the big game. The Hilton Garden Inn and CH Fields Craft Kitchen.
Welcome back to the last segment here at the Hilton Garden Inn with Coach Paul Tortorella and Hawk Talk. First of all, Coach, before we talk about Mercyhurst, one of the fans wants to know future contributions from Randy Washington, who is just starting to round into form after being injured.
Well, he got in a little bit on Saturday, had 2 nice runs, showed that he's got a lot of speed and acceleration. He hasn't been healthy probably since the second practice of preseason camp. So we're obviously looking to continue to work him in. He's a different kind of running back than the three that we have in regards to he's more of a home run hitter, big play running back. He may get the ball 3 or 4 times and not gain anything twice, but might break. He's got the speed to break one. Not that the others don't, but he's a little bit faster than the other 3 running backs that we have. And he's shown to have, on defense, it's funny. He didn't have the greatest hands on defense. On offense, he catches everything.
That's true. That's weird, isn't it?
So usually what happens is when you're on offense and you don't catch the ball, they send you over to defense, okay? Because you cover and you might not, you don't have to catch the ball as much as you do on offense. We had him on defense, and he dropped some interceptions, and somebody said, this guy doesn't have the greatest hands. He's caught everything on offense, So, when you go by last spring when we moved him.
Right, yeah.
And when he's had chance in camp when he's been healthy, he's as good of a receiver out of the backfield as all the guys that we have running back. All of our running backs can catch the ball.
Catch the ball, okay. Here's another question. I know we had talked earlier in the year about how many freshmen would maybe make this squad, make this team. One of them, number 23, is Easy Thomas, out of Carlisle. You had a couple of other guys. They all had pretty much a good opportunity to play this past week. You might talk about them collectively.
Well, you had 3 games to use them, okay, and we've played, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 freshmen in the first 3 games, and they happen to all be on defense. So now we've got to kind of make a decision like, this is it. We got to either not play them and redshirt them or play them and we're on with it. You can't look back after this, going into the 4th game. If they play in the 4th game, you can't redshirt them. So he's probably the guy that has the best chance to not redshirt, to be honest with you. He's really, Darius Bruce is back up at star. He's a backup nickel back. He's on some special teams. So I don't see us redshirting him. He's more than capable of going in there and helping us. He's got a lot of talent, and he really takes coaching. So I think he'll be a guy that we will play.
Yeah. They've got some good prospects there, that's for sure. Okay, Mercyhurst. They played Ferris State 54-12. I guess it was close for a quarter. They beat Lock Haven 41-29. Lock Haven with their best start in years and years, and then they lost at Kutztown 47-14. It's interesting. Their quarterback is a little guy. He's 5'9". Adam Urenia. He's a lefty. I was watching some video on him today. But he looks like he's very mobile, and he's throwing for almost 300 yards a game. The D-backs are going to be tested, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. They throw the ball a lot during a spread formation, usually in 4 wideouts. Kind of what football – they're kind of now what football turned into about 10 or 12 years ago with teams that went to the spread. He's a junior college quarterback from California. He's not very tall. He's only 5'9", but he has a way of getting the ball out, because he moves well and they create lanes for him to throw it. And he throws the ball outside the pocket a lot. He'll sprint and misdirect. It's not just all drop back. And he doesn't just, he'll throw the ball down the field. He'll throw the intermediate pass. It's a spread passing game. It used to be called run and shoot, but now it's not run and shoot. They're 4 wideouts, and they're going to throw it a bunch.
And they have we talked before about the size differential of receivers and D-back, and Cameron Barmore.
Yeah, he's
6'6".
Yeah, he's tall. He looks like a skin. He's about the same height as Laney. To be honest with you, he's all a 6'5", 6. We've played against him. This is his 3rd year playing against us.
Yeah,
and he's legitimately 6. They're not kidding when they say 6'6". He's 6'6". He's really tall.
One of the things I noticed, and I don't have the 2 deep yet, but on their numerical roster, they don't have any weights listed.
Really?
I wonder if that's by design. I've never seen that.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at their too deep, and I did not see any weights on there. But
Well,
you know, they're not. Their size is normal. They've got a couple down guys on defense that have been playing for them for a couple years that we know that we've played against. They've got a linebacker that's played a lot of football for them. You know, it's that new head coach's second year, so they're still trying to get the program, you know, even though he was an assistant there for a long time. You know, they've changed them. They've changed dramatically on offense. I mean, it's totally different now than it's ever been. For like even last year,
even compared to last year.
Oh yeah, this is total spread, throw it all over the place, and that's not who they've been in the past. You know, with Marty there, and then last year they still did some of what Marty had done and started like slowly getting into spread, but they didn't have this quarterback. The backup now was the starter last year, so we've played against him. I think they have 3 starters back at receiver, you know, so they do have a lot of guys back here. The running back's back. He's a bigger back. They got a couple, you know, they've got some new O-linemen. They had some seniors on their O-line last year, and they had an older defense last year.
Well, obviously their problem is on defense.
Well, it is, but, you know, they are kind of like, how do I want to explain this? Statistically, you might look at them and say, wow, the stats aren't that great, but they're capable of going out there and playing a really good game on defense. You know, it's not, you know, you're playing Ferris. Okay, they're the best team in the country, so your stats aren't going to look real good on defense against them on offense. Kutztown's got a very good offense that can move the ball. So, you know, they've played 2 to 3 teams they've played are really good on offense. So it's going to make your defense not look that good. But they're, you know, again, it's the head coach's second year. They're at home. It's not an easy place to play. You know, we've played 7 home games in a row, which is the most unbelievable thing I've ever been around and coaching in college.
I was going to bring that up. The fact is, it's time to go on the road, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have trouble finding the bus, you know, but we enjoy playing on the road. We kind of like it, actually. Our guys don't. I mean, we've had great crowds. We love playing at home, but we kind of do embrace the challenge of playing on the road, us against everybody else. Ever since I've taken over as the head coach, we've kind of taken on that mantra. You know, our record is really good on the road. We had, I think, a 12-game winning streak on the road up until last year when we lost up at Gannon. So our guys, they relish playing on the road, believe it or not.
Do you have you seen? We've got a couple of minutes here. Have you seen improvement coming up to Game 3 in your running game and the offensive line? Do you see it coming?
Yeah, but we got, you know, we're at the end of the day, our success is still going to be we got to run the football, okay? And we're not running it well enough right now. You know, we're not blocking it well enough. Our running backs have missed some runs, missed some cuts. We've got to be way more efficient in the run game. Because it's our bread and butter. I mean, we rushed for 350 yards last year against Mercyhurst. We got to run the ball better.
And I noticed on the offensive line that you and Coach Camp are incorporating some of the younger guys too, giving some depth.
Well, we're rolling 7 offensive linemen. We play legitimately 7 offensive linemen and even 8 with Richard Santiago playing some. So, and then obviously in the second half we played, the only offensive lineman we didn't play was a true freshman, Shaw, because he's getting redshirted. So we played 12 offensive linemen on Saturday. 8 of them played in the first half. So we're trying to fight and find the right combination. You know, obviously DeJua and Comedy and Leighton are the 3 that you know, don't. They play just about every snap. But at the other 2 spots, we've rolled 4 and 5 different guys in there. We've got a redshirt freshman. We got a sophomore. We got a junior that's a transfer. We got another sophomore that's a transfer. So, offensive line, there's got to be a little continuity, and they got to play together for a while. I mean, we have 4 offensive linemen out of the top 7. 4 of the offensive linemen that we're playing with have never played here at IUP. We got a redshirt freshman, a sophomore transfer, and a junior transfer. So you got to, it's like the quarterback. It's no different. These guys, it's a new system. It's a totally new offense than what, you're looking at. You had a guy from Virginia Wise. You got a guy from Concord. You got a guy from Lackawanna. That's where these guys played last year, from Lackawanna. Mm-hmm. You had Koval, who was redshirted.
Right.
So there's 4 guys right there. 1 was redshirted, and the other 3 were playing at 3 different places. So you gotta you gotta have some patience. You gotta pump the brakes a little bit, but it's time to go now. Like, now we're playing for keeps in the conference, and like I heard Nick Saban say the other day, he wanted to pump the brakes on their game that they lost to Texas and blah 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 blah. He said, but the future's now. Like, we can't wait to get to where we want to go 4 weeks from now. We got to get there as fast. Mm-hmm. It's like some guys sleep fast. Well, we got to get better fast. Yeah.
Let me ask you update on injury. It's early in the week. Obviously, we talked about Quinn. He said he'll be ready to go. How about Laney, Vaughn, Danielson?
I think we're going to have everybody, personally. Vaughn probably be the guy that'll be out. But I think everybody else should be, if we were playing a game today, maybe not. But, we're 5 days away. I think those guys will start practicing, if not tomorrow, on Wednesday. So if I was looking at it, I'd say probably Noah Vaughn would be the only guy that would be legitimately out for this game.
Okay. All right, Coach, you got 600 for the university and 50 for you individually. And
Well, yeah.
Let's go on. Yeah, well, you're in select company there,
Well, my blanket line was, they asked me about 50 wins. I said it's a whole lot better than 50 losses. Because my kids had been kidding me about it. And they said, what are you going to say when they ask you about the 50 wins? So I was ready for it. I said, well, I'm going to say it's better than 50. The alternative, it's better than 50 losses.
Absolutely.
But again, like I told everybody when I was asked about it Saturday, you don't win 50 games as the head coach without great players, without great assistant coaches, without great play-by-play announcers, and without a great organization and support staff, to be honest with you. So
that's why they call it a team, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I've said here on the show before, it takes a whole village to run a football program. It ain't just one guy.
Yeah.
It never was and never will be.
Yeah, when you're in the company of Frank Signetti and George P. Miller and Kurt Signetti and Bill Neal.
Good people and great coaches and good people.
There you are.
I somehow found my way into that group. I don't know how, but, you know.
We're happy for that. All right, that's our show for this week. Good luck Saturday against Mercyhurst, and we'll be back next week and give it a go here.
Appreciate it, Jack. Thanks.
Coach Tortorella with us. Thanks to Quinns and Noble. We'll be on the air at 12:30 on U92Radio.com. Kickoff 1 o'clock from Erie against Mercyhurst. And right now, it's a few days away, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty good afternoon for football. That's it from here from the beautiful Hilton Garden Inn. For the coach and for Quinn and our entire crew, this is Jack Benedict. Have yourself a really good evening.
You've been listening to another edition of Hawk Talk on the new